Hello, my name is Jonathan Harris from Worldwide Camera Exchange. Rolleiflex 2.8F, probably one of the most highly regarded of the Rolleiflex twin lens cameras. What I'm going to do today is talk about the 2.8F and the various features of the 2.8F. If you are interested in the Rolleiflex range, I have another video which I'll post a link to above, which talks about the variants, the 3.5, the 2.8, the wide angles, the tele, so click on that link if that's of interest to you. I've also a video focusing on what you should check if you're buying these. Again, I'll put a link above if that's what interests you, but what I'm going to talk about now is specifically this model. Okay, so the Rolleiflex 2.8F, made from about 1961 up until the mid-80s. The vast majority of them were produced in the earlier years. In the latter years, production did fall quite significantly. They did produce some limited edition cameras, some platinum cameras, some gold cameras. I have no interest in those whatsoever. What I'm talking about today now is just the basic usable camera. Okay, so let's start with the film loading. To load the film, you pull that little lever there sideways, you pull this lever on the bottom up, and the camera opens like so. Film loads in the bottom, feeds through these two rollers here. We've just had this camera, this camera service, so the repairers kindly put a little indicator in there to show where the film goes. Starts in the bottom, goes through the rollers, feeds into the top. You then close the back, fold that down, fold that across, and then you can advance the first frame using the film advanced lever. Film advanced lever is just there. So you advance the first frame, and there's the frame counter. When you get to 1, you're ready to fire. Film advanced lever, already mentioned. Frame counter, already mentioned. That there is the strap attachment. The strap attaches there and there, and you need a special, what is called a Rolleiflex scissor strap, which just slots down into there and locks the strap into position. It's a very, very clever design, but it is a specific Rolleiflex attachment. So if you do want a strap, you will have to get the little Rolleiflex attachments that couple with that. Moving on to the top, just there and just there are the release buttons for the waist level finder. This camera is best used with the waist level finder. So you fold that up like that, you look down and view like this. You can get a prism, you can get various other attachments to aid viewing, but the waist level is the best way to use it by far. When you're using it in waist level, down here, if you want to focus precisely, if you just push the front in there like that, then this little magnifier pops up, and that allows you to focus precisely, fold the magnifier away, then compose at waist level. Another way you can use it is with the action finder. If you push this here all the way down like so, then you can view through this square here like so, and that's actually quite a nice little feature. If you need to focus when you're viewing like this, there's another little viewing window there. You can look through there. There's a mirror just behind in the waist level finder mechanism, and that again allows you to micro focus. Most people though would use this just in a standard waist level format like this. If you want to take the waist level finder off, push those two little buttons there. Off comes the waist level finder like so. Interchangeable screens. To change the screen, you pull the frame backwards, and you'll see, if I'm careful, it folds up like so. I do want to be careful, as I don't want to drop the screen out. Underneath, you can see the mirror. It's a twin lens camera, so that mirror is fixed. When you view via the top lens, you take pictures via the bottom lens. Hence, twin lens reflex. Putting the waist level finder back on, clips on like so, very straightforward, away you go. Waist level finders on these are actually quite complex little things, very, very cleverly designed. Moving on to the front of the camera. This corner here, you have the shutter release. Around the shutter release, that little lever there, that locks the shutter open if you want to lock it onto B. So, mechanical shutter, The standard range is from 1 second through to a 500th. If you go beyond 1 second, you can put it into the B position. And if you want to, I'd say, take an exposure that's 3 minutes long, you put it into the B position, fire the shutter release, and just pull that around there to lock the shutter open for the desired exposure time. On this side, you have the flash sync. That little lever there is just to lock it into position. 2 dials on the front, shutter speed, aperture. As you turn these 2 dials, you can see the speed you've got set, or the aperture you've got set through that little window just there. I'm not sure how clear that's going to be. So if I move these 2 dials, you'll see that the aperture and the shutter are changing. This is a setting for flash. If you're using flash bulbs, most people don't these days, obviously, you would have it on one position. If you're using it with electronic flash, you just move it over to the other. This also doubles as a self-timer. Now, when you're looking at these second-hand, you'll probably find that the self-timers generally don't work because, obviously, very few people use these with the self-timer. But if you wind it on, you've got the self-timer set. You then press the shutter release button. You'll hear the mechanism. I don't know if you can hear that. It's very, very quiet. The mechanism just timing down. This one, as I said earlier, has been serviced, so it's working well, but generally they don't. If they're not working, I really wouldn't worry too much unless you really had to use the self-timer. But the vast majority of photographers using these cameras are very unlikely to be using the self-timer function. It really is down to you and your personal photographic preferences. So shutter speed dial there, aperture there, I've covered that. Focusing, that is here, very, very straightforward. Just rack the front standard on the camera back and forward to focus. Just tucked in there, I don't know if you can see that, there's a white band. Now that's actually the depth of field preview. Or indicator, as you change the aperture on the camera, if I change the aperture on the camera, can you see that little white band is expanding and contracting? That gives you the depth of field. So you just read off the top and bottom of the white band against the distance scale there, and it gives you the depth of field. Again, a really, really clever little feature. Meter, you might have noticed that change as I was changing the aperture. You've got a needle and you have a black arm. You just need to balance the shutter speed and the aperture until the black arm, you can see there, aligns with the meter. Then you've got the correct exposure. It's a selenium meter, so it doesn't need batteries. The metering cell is just across there. The spare parts for these meters are no longer available. The meters are getting a bit long in the tooth, so you do have to be quite careful with the meter. Do check it. It's quite common for them to be inaccurate, and they're often inaccurate because the selenium meter begins to disintegrate and begins to degrade. If that happens, you can get them adjusted, but you might get to a point where it's no longer possible to adjust them anymore. So you might have a situation where perhaps the meter is reading under by half a stop or 1 stop. If that's happening, it's not the end of the world. You can just adjust the ASA dial, the ASA setting rather, which is there to compensate. It's not rare to find them with non-working meters. It's not the end of the world. If one doesn't have a working meter, I wouldn't pay top dollar. Personally, I'll be very, very happy just using a small handheld meter. It's pretty much as quick and it's pretty much as easy. So I wouldn't lose too much sleep over that. Ideally, you do want one that works. Even if it is working, check the plastic lens there very, very carefully. It's a very fragile, brittle plastic, and they do crack very, very easily. This one, you won't see it on the video, this one has got a very light hairline crack just there, which is very, very common. Often you see them and they've been knocked and the plastic is just gone. It's been completely smashed. If you look at the design of the camera, you can see that does stick out. It's very, very vulnerable. So it's very, very common to see these damaged. As I said, not the end of the world. If you want to mint one, to find a mint one with a perfect meter, with perfect glass there is unusual, but with time you will. If you're going to use it, I wouldn't worry too much about a few little marks, a few little hairline cracks on the meter just there. Just moving on to these two little knobs here, they pull out to help you load the film. That's fairly obvious when you've got the back open. ASA dial here I've mentioned. There's also an exposure compensation dial just here you can use. I mean, if you're shooting a film and you want to underexpose by a stop on all the exposures, you can just use that to make that adjustment. And that's pretty much it. Yeah, really nice, high quality, medium format camera. I should have mentioned, it's a 6x6 camera, so it produces really big square negatives, very high quality, 2.8F lens, very sharp. Don't expect it to be as sharp as modern optics, it just won't be. It's a 50-year-old camera, but don't forget you're recording the image onto a 6x6 medium, so what you lose in fractionally in optical performance, you're going to gain effectively in sensor size here. I mean, it's a really big, nice, usable negative these things produce. Standard film 120. The later models can take 220 film, but that's all a bit irrelevant because you can't really buy 220 film these days. So the vast majority of users are going to be using 120 film in this. Gives 12 6cm by 6cm exposures. I hope that's useful. If you've got any questions, please let me know. I'll always answer when I can. Otherwise, please subscribe and like, and I hope to see you again soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.